Guy.
We're on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining me today on this podcast of mine. I really am excited for this conversation. It's been a pleasure knowing you for the past few months and just getting so much insight and wisdom. And our story is so funny about how we met, and even with your girlfriend too. It's so cool how our paths cross. And I'm really happy to call you a friend and to just be in your presence every time I see you. It's just like we've known each other for years. It's what it feels like. And you have inspired me a lot of ways because of the way that you show up in your business. And your business is such an interesting aspect. When I first met you, I didn't even know what business you were in, but you wanted just accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But now I come to understand that you're in psychology, not just any psychology, trading psychology, which is by far the most fantastic and interesting and most difficult businesses that someone could run. Trading and feeling that feeling of emotions that people go through when they're investing. And it has to do with money.
100%.
And money is such a powerful thing. And the premise of this conversation that I really want to talk about today is understanding decisions. Because when we're inside of trading, and but also in life, but you can relate this a lot with trading in your business, is when you're making an emotional decision, a rational decision, what's going on in the brain. And it's just a really interesting concept that I'm excited to dive in on. So thank you so much for joining me, Guy.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I gotta say this, first of all, I really love you, man. You're a great inspiration for me as well. And I love how you inspire all people around you. And it's a pleasure being your friend. I feel the same as you. And in the relation to psychology and trading, what's nice about that is that even if your listeners are not trading and will never trade,
Mm-hmm.
it's affecting the emotions of having a business, making decisions in a business. It's like a little slower than investing, than trading. The effect is slower, but it's the same effect. Like the decisions that we make when we're in a stressful situation, and business have a lot of the time. And part of being a business owner is to have decisions that are a part of money. It's money decisions. Trading is money decisions. What I work with my clients is how to effectively make these decisions with the, I don't want to say emotional detachment, because I think that emotions are a very important part of our life. We're humans after all. You cannot detach the emotions completely.
Yeah.
But you cannot make rational decisions when your emotional state is too high. And that's basically what I work. That's like in a word, what I work with my clients on. It's a much more complicated field, but it's completely a part of business and life and relationships. It's the same. Just trading is a very fast-paced world of what's going on in this field.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Wow.
It's just being so emotionally I guess invested that the decision seems totally like logical in what it seems like. Because I remember being in trading and taking a decision, thinking it's logical, my brain thinking it's logical, right? But it's actually just an emotional decision. And people go through these kinds of waves on a daily, weekly basis. If they're going to text this person, if they're going to go to the gym, if they're going to even just start a new habit or a routine, any sort of situation, or stop drinking, it's like there's a difference between the brain talking and the emotions talking.
I want to say this. And when it comes to trading, I see it as if I'm going to explain trading psychology, it's basically the gap between what you're capable or you should do and what you're actually doing. So if in business you're catching yourself asking, okay, I knew that I shouldn't do this, or right now I understand that it was a stupid decision. I don't know how I haven't saw it when I made it. In trading is exactly the same thing. Like we know the strategies, we learn everything, and when it comes to actually when there's money on the table, we're fucked up. We can say fucked up. We fucked up, man. Like we're doing exactly what we know we should not be doing.
Yeah.
And there is a psychological reason behind it. There's science behind proving why we're doing it. There's a little almond-shaped part in your brain that called an amygdala. Amygdala is a part of the emotional part of the brain. Because it's a part of the emotional part of the brain, it have no logic. The other side, where we learn the business strategies, the investment strategy, whatever, is the cortex. Okay, the cortex, it's about consciousness, it's about logical thinking, planning, a very important part when you want to make any business or any decision. The problem comes from a psychological phenomena called amygdala hijack. Now, amygdala hijack is you can look at the amygdala like an on-off switch for your emotional regulation. Problem when it's on, there's this amygdala hijack, which is basically the amygdala hijacking the control of your prefrontal cortex. And in that point, all of your strategies and all of the stuff that you learned and all of your logic basically is turned off, and your survival mode is on. And that is the reason why we make those stupid mistakes, because we're not logical. We don't have a connection to the logical part once we are in a high level of an emotional state. In trading, it's super easy to get to this state. All you need to do is to trade a little bit higher than what you're used to, or to have the market a little bit more aggressive. In business, it's going to be on a specific event, because you're not going to be hijacked all of your business. So it's going to be very different. But the decisions that you make when you catch your head after and you don't understand what have you done, that's an amygdala hijack. It happens in relationships. Okay, so if you have a fight with your girlfriend or wife, a lot of the times you're just going to snap. You're going to lose control. And again, after it, you're going to look at how you behaved, and you're going to be like, why would I do something like that? Because your amygdala hijacked the control.
One thing that I've heard is that emotions are tools. They're just a tool to achieve a goal. And this is something that I followed by, because when we look at anger and the philosophy of what anger is, it's something that's evoking because of some external thing that goes on. And typically the reason we would want it to be there, the goal is to enforce boundaries, to basically get something you want, or to stop something you don't want to happen. And it's this goal of creating this emotion to, I guess you could say, establish a certain standpoints in where you feel. But there's also so many other aspects of when we look at emotions as well, because they just show up sometimes with no reason whatsoever, and we can't even label it sometimes.
So I think there's always a reason. Maybe we don't understand the reason, but there's always a reason. And you can look at emotions as two categories. Categories. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
English is not my first language, so you have to excuse me if I'm going to forget a word. But the first category is positive. And the second one is negative. There is no in between.
Right.
Like anger is negative. It cannot be a positive.
Right.
And every time we have some kind of a negative feeling, it's connected to our ego. It's because we're not accepting the reality as it is. There is no other way. And the reality is the only thing we have. Like you're living right now in the moment. You and I right now sit here having this conversation, and if something right now doesn't feel right, I'm angry or I'm sad or I'm upset or any negative emotion, it's connected directly to the fact that I don't accept the reality as it is. Now, you cannot change the reality now.
Right.
That's what we have. You cannot change it.
I have to just witness it, experience it as what it is. Right.
You have three options when it comes to every decision you make in life. Every decision that I do, I go by these three rules.
Okay.
One is, you don't like something, you can change it.
Yeah.
Change it. Like you don't like it, change it. If you cannot change it, you have to accept it. And if you cannot accept it and you cannot change it, you can remove it completely. It's going to be very different for every different situation. For example, if you have a problem with your wife, you can get a divorce. You can just move out, or you can accept the fact that you have a problem and deal with it. Okay? If you have a business problem, it's going to be the same thing. Some problems you cannot change and you cannot replace. If you have an illness, you cannot change it and you cannot replace it. You have to accept it. And if you live by these rules, you're supposed to be happy with what you have. And the goal is not, maybe not even happy, but to accept, to not be miserable with what you have, with the decisions that you're making. And when it comes to making decisions, you make a decision, you cannot predict the future. When it comes to business or finance or whatever, you can't predict. No one can predict it. Our brain is like a predicting machine, and he cannot predict nothing. Like we think we can predict everything, but it's like 99% of our predictions are squat. It's not going to work.
Never goes to plan.
Never. And then there is 1% that works, and it's not going to work exactly like you imagine, but it's good enough so your brain's going to be like, you see, you should listen.
Yeah, the inflation of the ego.
Yeah, exactly that. But if we're going to bring too much power to this part of the brain, the predictability machine, we're going to be miserable because the brain cannot predict nothing.
Yeah,
that's not his job. Okay,
it's just to solve problems.
Yeah, it's a great machine to solve problems, but not every problem have a solution that you need to do right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a lot of things, just need to accept them.
One thing that I want to just showcase is I had a conversation on a few podcasts ago, and my friend was talking about a time in his life that he realized that when he was like really actively searching for his purpose, he got to a point where it was like, maybe I should be purposeless. And this is the kind of thing where it's similar to this. You don't need an answer for everything, but you have the guidelines of understanding, okay, this is what it is right now. Mm-hmm. And I came from a Vipassana retreat with Goenka. And this taught me a lot about attachment. Mm-hmm. And what when you bring up this word misery is just the fact of you unaccepting a certain situation that's going on and you want it to be something else. But the reality is, when you look at anything that goes on in this world, it is involved in a characteristic called impermanence, or the law of nature. Mm-hmm. And the law of nature defines that there's always going to be a certain change that goes on. It's impermanent. That is happening within a certain situation. And so that means that any sort of attachment that someone has to some sort of thing is just a version of this not wanting it to change. And so this can show up as craving or aversion. But this shows up so much in trading, doesn't it? Craving things and avoiding things.
Well, I'll tell you this. Our brain or our souls, maybe even, we're always moving from pain, away from pain and right through pleasure.
Yeah.
But it's a tricky thing because our brain is biased to be more afraid of pain than is actually wanting to go into pleasure. There's a lot of science behind it. There's a guy called Daniel Kahneman. He actually got a Nobel Prize for this. And he proved the fact that it's going to be double the amount. The pain is going to be the pain of losing money, for example, is going to be double from the amount of pleasure you're going to gain from gaining money. So, for example, if you lost $100 right now, you're going to feel shit. In order to recover it emotionally, you got to gain $200. Okay, and from the other side, if you just imagine for a second that you went out. You had $100 in your pocket. You reach your pocket. There's nothing. You lost it.
Yeah.
Fuck. I could feel the pain talking about this.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to just find $100, it's going to be nice, but it's not going to be as painful as losing the $100. Or the emotional level is not going to be the same. And that's the whole point of Daniel Kahneman. And when it comes to trading, that's killing most traders without even realizing it, because they're entering a trade. There's a saying in trading that a lot of traders are profiting in spoons, and they're losing money in buckets. And that's exactly the explanation for that. Because when you're in a winning position, your brain is going against you anyway. He wants you to get the pleasure, basically telling you, okay, we have $100 right now in a profitable trade. Let's close the position. The brain is going against you. You can make $10,000 on this trade or $1,000, doesn't matter. But your brain going to make you to close the position because of two things. First, you want to get the pleasure. If you're going to go to neurochemistry, you want to get dopamine. Yes, that's what it is. It's cortisol and dopamine. Cortisol going to represent the pain, the uneasy feeling that you have, and dopamine, which is much famous as the feel-good hormone. It's a bit more complicated, much more complicated than this. It's a very simplified way of saying it, but dopamine makes you feel good. So your brain wants to feel good. It tells you close the trade, but it's stronger than that, he's afraid of getting the cortisol. And he knows that if you have right now $100 profit, it's going to go down to 50, it's going to be painful. You're still profiting, it's still a good trade, everything is good, but it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
When you're in a losing trade, it's even worse, because what's happening is that every time that the market goes in your favor while you're in a losing trade. So for example, you're losing $100 and then the market goes a little bit higher, so you're losing only $90. You're going to get dopamine. You're going to get dopamine. The brain going to get dopamine. It's going to get excited. It's going to be like, oh, there is hope.
And it's only $10.
It doesn't matter if the money doesn't matter. The brain doesn't. It's a part of the brain that doesn't understand logic. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It understands feelings. And if you go with your feelings, you're screwed. You're doomed. And what's happening when you're in a losing position is that I call it emotional blindness, because when the market is going down, the brain don't want to face the cortisol. Yeah. If you close the position and you admit that the position was a bad decision or a bad trade or whatever, you get cortisol.
Yeah.
If you don't close it, every time it goes up, you get dopamine. So instead of that's exactly this. People are losing in buckets because the brain have a bias against cortisol and in favor of dopamine. And the cortisol is twice as powerful as the dopamine. The main problem with this, the dopamine is not just a feel-good hormone, it's a habit hormone. Every time that you do something, you get dopamine. That's how our brain works. Every movement that we make that is a habitual thing, you get dopamine. So for an example, if I close a position in a small profit, I got the dopamine, I accepted the dopamine. Yeah. Basically my brain say, okay, this is a new neural pathway that you just build. This is habits. Yeah. So for an example, if I go to the gym, I get dopamine. You get dopamine from going to the gym. The brain gets some kind of, okay, that's how people that goes to, that's how you build a habit. When someone is going to the gym, at the beginning, no one likes going to the gym at the beginning. Yeah. You read your page like a fucking asshole, looking at the bell, oh my God, I need to do push-ups, where is the push-up, whatever. You feel weird. Yeah. But after you've done it 10 times, you're like, okay, yeah, the brain is used to get the dopamine hit from this action. That's habit. Mm-hmm. When it comes to trading, if you follow the natural habits that you're supposed to have, which is close your position when your brain tells you to, which is not what you need to do, but that's what your brain wants you to do. You're basically getting the neural pathway to be so deep that that's going to be your new habit. The reason why 99% of traders lose money is because they are going with their brain instead of doing the logical thing, which is hard. Like, this is something you need to practice. There's a lot of ways to do it. The way for me to talk about trading psychology and to coach in trading psychology is to leave the theory aside. The theory is very important. Like, when you understand how your brain operates, how the neurochemistry behind it works, it's important. You understand that there's a conscious level to understand it. It's important. You can attach it, right? You can understand. Okay, so even if you did it right now, it happens to you right now, suddenly you have a label for this. You're right. And when you're labeling something, this is CBT. Yes. Cognitive behavioral therapy is basically, let's label what we're feeling so we can understand it. Yeah. Okay. And when you're labeling stuff and you're understanding them, it doesn't mean it's going to be fixed, but it means that it is fixable right now. You have the conscious awareness to fix it. And the problems that I saw, and basically what got me to drive myself into the trading psychology world, is the fact that 99% of books, courses, seminars, it's theory. Mm-hmm. And I've been trading for 14 years, and the first 6 years was hell. Like, I made a lot of money, but I also lost a lot of money, and I was in an endless loop of always losing and winning and losing and winning. I had no consistency. Yeah. And I was always looking for the next shiny object, which is it's a bias. And it's a bias that's connected to dopamine. When you find a new solution, you said it yourself, the brain is a solving machine. Yep. Okay. When you find a new solution to a problem, you get dopamine. Yeah, exactly. Your brain is wired to get dopamine. It's exciting to get dopamine. We don't understand it when we're trading, but I had a loop of searching for the next strategy for 6 years.
Shiny objects.
Yes.
It's called SOS, shiny object syndrome.
Exactly that. And the problem is that if you're not sitting for a second and saying, okay, I will master one thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be, just let me understand one thing and master it for 6 years. I would be in a completely different place than I master a lot of things. Like I've learned because I was convinced that what's going to make me profitable is the knowledge. Mm. But as we talked about before, it doesn't matter how much you learn, because at the second that you have an amygdala hijack, knowledge is gone. There is no logic. There is no knowledge. There is no strategy. There is no plan. It's just you and your monkey brain making monkey moves. And good luck making money like that. Good luck making business like that. It's impossible.
Money has so much attachment in the world. Oh man, have you ever heard of FOMO? Of
course.
Yeah, this is a huge play, obviously, of trading, and when you're in the world as well, it's just like there's so many expectations, and your peer group, they go out, and this is also the thing that's like, oh, should I go to this? Am I going to miss out? What am I going to miss out on? Even in the trading, it's like, oh my gosh, am I going to miss out on this high after being on the low? Even in that trade, am I going to miss out on? There's the emotions that get played.
So I changed the word emotions to neurochemistry. Try to translate it in your brain right now to dopamine and cortisol. It's going to make so much more sense. When you have FOMO, you have FOMO of what?
Right. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
The goal or the fear, whatever you're missing out.
It's the cortisol or the dopamine. It's connected to this. And when I'm talking about the consciousness level of living in the now, of understanding that what you have is what you have and you cannot predict the future, it goes aligned with trading like hand by hand. Because the fact that you saw trends starting to happen, that's just you and your brain making an analytical move in your brain. And it's a gamble. No one knows. Because if you knew the market going to go, just go all in. You don't know. You're guessing. The problem is that 99% of your guess is not going to happen. The 1% that will happen, you're going to be attached with the dopamine to it. Mm-hmm. And then your brain is going to be like, yeah, I can predict the future. And when it comes to everything in life, when it comes to business, like maybe you had like 100 ideas. Everyone have this friend that always come up with, I got this startup idea. I got that startup idea. He's not doing anything. And like once every 5 years, there's one thing that he talks about like in a very vague way and it works. And there's like a startup on it. And he's like, yeah, it was my idea. The thing is that life reacts to taking actions.
Yeah.
And when it comes to trading, the biggest action you should do is nothing. That's hard. That's hard because it's like a river of endless opportunities. There's always an opportunity.
I think there's something big here. It's training your body and your brain to understand boredom at such a deep level. And wow. It's actually so underrated. When we look at a child and our childhood years, all we're thinking about is, why am I so bored? Why am I so bored? And this attachment to dopamine and cortisol, right?
I have to read something for you that I literally wrote today. It's connected like extremely to what you just said.
Boredom is just, it's really, when you look at the aspect of boredom and the amount of creativity that can come from it, it's so powerful because you just sit there and you kind of you don't respond to anything. You let yourself be as detached and as emotionally regulated as possible.
The thing is, you got to be, you got to be, it's not boredom. Boredom yes, it is. You have to be okay with being bored.
Which is nothing. It's just doing nothing.
Just do nothing. Be okay with this.
Yes.
But I see trading as like, it's nothing but in a high alert mode. It's like experiencing the now moment, but really experiencing it. Because boredom is something we need to escape, or our brain is trying to escape.
Right, that word has got a negative connotation to it.
Imagine a cat staring at a hole, waiting for a mouse to come out.
Yeah.
He's in the moment. It's boring. There's nothing happening, but he's there, like 100%. Mm. And this is where I want to be when I'm trading.
Yeah.
But when I'm not trading, I don't want to look at the charts. I don't want to be a part of the market. I don't care. Right now, you and I have this conversation. I couldn't care less what's happening in the market. Well, I have a lot of long-term positions that I care about.
Yeah.
But, I got my position managed. What happened. I don't know what's going to happen. So if the market is going to crash right now, I got my protective stop loss, and whatever will be, will be. I'm not in a point that I'm like having fun losing money, or it's like, oh, yeah, it's okay. No, it sucks losing money.
Yeah, of course.
No one loves losing money. That's not what I train my people to do. You're not going to end up in a place that suddenly you're going to fall in love with losing money. But the thing is this, like you're not going to be emotionally damaged from losing a trade. You're also not going to be super hyped when you make a huge amount of money.
The detachment.
Boom. And for me, I can tell you that my biggest problem was that not that I didn't know how to make really good trades. I could literally write an encyclopedia about systems. Like I was mastering the knowledge like crazy. That's all I've done. And I made money. I made money. The biggest problem that I had, that every time I made a big amount of money, which is relative, but for me, it was like making a year salary in a month. It's like mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember nights of going out and partying because of the fact that I made money and buying a new watch and, celebrating and starting wearing brands like it's going to change anything. But that's something that I like, maybe a phase that I needed to be in.
Right.
But now I know that that's exactly the opposite of what I should have done. I should have been like making, okay, I made 100K right now. Wonderful. Let's take a week break of trading because I'm very emotional right now. Like, be aware of what you're feeling. I'm not saying don't feel, but be aware of it and be aware of the fact that sometimes you got to say, okay, I cannot be bored right now. If you're going to take it to bored, I cannot be bored right now because I'm hyped, because I'm in an euphoric state. And if I'm going to trade right now, I'm going to make stupid psychological mistakes, because being fearful and being too brave, it's the actions you're going to have are pretty much the same. If you're fearful, yes, so your dominating emotion is going to be coming from cortisol, but the dopamine is not going to do you good as well. You got to find a middle ground when it comes to trading or any other business decision that you're making. And business decisions are very, very connected. I had a few businesses in my life, mostly in the marketing arena. And I remember making decisions with clients when there is a big client on the line and you need to make a decision that might cost you a client, or might 10x the client's income. It's a decision that there's a lot of emotions involved in it. And if you're going to be euphoric about that, you're going to feel invincible. You're going to be like, of course we're going to make it. And if you're going to be fearful, you're not going to take any chance. But none of them is a good position to be in, because the rational place is where you need to be. What I teach my clients, the first thing that I teach them before we talk about strategies and theories and how to, get your level up from a trader that cannot make consistent income to a trader that is a master trader that makes tens of thousands of dollars a month. The first thing I teach them is how to control the amygdala. I call this amygdala blockage, which is basically, if we said before that the amygdala is like an on-off switch, let's trade with the amygdala off all the time.
Yeah.
Let's just not activate it. How you do it? So it starts by regulating the body.
Yeah.
So for an example, if you talk about sleep, if you're not sleeping well, you have 50% higher chance of getting an amygdala hijack. Your amygdala is 30 to 40% more reactive anyway when you're not sleeping. And I'm not talking about miss nights of sleep. I'm talking about they have less than 6 hours a night sleep. So the first thing I do with my clients, go to sleep, man. But make a sleeping routine. 7 hours minimum. And I'll tell you something. One of my clients told me, the first week we started working together, he told me, listen, guy, I never slept. Like, if I'm lucky, I'm sleeping 5 hours a night, and I'm not a lucky person. That's his words. And it's a no, there's no question here. If you cannot sleep 7 hours a night, you cannot become super performer. In business, in trading, as an athlete, it cannot be happening, because your brain is a machine. And if you don't feed oil to your machine is not going to work well.
It's a super component, not just to any oil.
Super. Yeah, it's not oil. It's the gas to your car.
Yeah.
And the other thing is what you get inside your body. You drink alcohol.
Mm-hmm. What are you consuming?
Exactly. What kind of food are you eating? If you eat a lot of sugar, at the first 3 months, for my opinion, when I have a new client, I do it every time. The first 3 months is a cleanup for your brain. We need to flush all of the bad hormones that you had.
Just nonsense.
Yeah, re-regulate.
When you talk about consuming, are you also talking about the things that your mind is consuming as well?
First off, yes, but I do not work with my clients. I don't work with this. The first phase is not about that. It's about cleaning, re-regulating the system. So it comes to sleeping well, it comes to eating well, it's physical activity. So important.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it for your brain. You need to do it for your soul.
Mm-hmm.
But the brain without physical activity, again, if I'm going to talk about only about the amygdala is about 2 times more reactive when you're not doing anything with your life. And I'm not talking about, you don't have to go to aggressive marathons, but if you don't walk, like minimum, have a 60 minutes walk.
Yeah.
If you're not in shape, you can do 60 minutes walk. And if you're in shape, go hit the gym because it's going to do much better work. The thing is that like all of those activities, it's not just that it's okay, it's good for your amygdala, it's amazing for the amygdala cortex connection. So the cortex, again, is the logical part of your brain. And when you do all of this, you're building a higher connection between them and you're making the cortex much more regulated. And basically what I'm doing in the first phase is to make sure that they're not going to have an amygdala hijack. That's the whole goal.
By talking to the body first.
By understanding, first off, change your habits. You cannot eat junk food, drink alcohol, smoke weed, and do coke on the weekend. Okay, and sleep 5 hours a night. Work out once a week if you're feeling like it, and expect to be a high performer. It doesn't make sense. But people don't talk about it. People don't understand that there's a correlation between how your business looks like and how your life habit looks like.
It's because it's just so basic that it's underrated.
My friend, it's basic for you because you're a crazy motherfucker doing ice baths every week. Okay. But for most people, it's not that basic. When I tell my clients, hey man, from now on, you have 3 months working with me, no more alcohol. Hard. It's a decision, man. To stop drinking alcohol, it's a decision. To stop doing it, if a guy is not working out, to push a client to work out, man. And if you cannot do it, I'm not going to work with you. Like if you're not, because I'll tell you this, man. I was doing a retreat myself in Turkey. I told you about that.
Oh yeah.
One of the things we've done over there was we started the day 5 a.m. No alarm clock, just wake up. I don't know how I'd done it, but like my mind was like, okay, wake up because 5 a.m. I don't know how, but yeah, I just woke up and there's a 2-kilometer run, which for me is easy. Like I've done it, and the only thing I had, I'm a very competitive guy. The only thing that I had in mind is like, I'm just getting the first place, and you get every day the result of your run. So the next day I was like, I'm not just going to get into the first place because I already done it. I'm going to beat my record. It was 10 days, every day I was beating my record. But that's not the thing. The thing is that there was a guy over there. Wow, what a person. And he have a lot of disabilities. He cannot run. He can barely walk. But there are no excuses over there. You can, you do 2 kilometers every day. It's painful for you to walk. Tough. Do it. And this motherfucker done it every fucking day.
Wow.
And it just showed me that it's all in our fucking mind, like legit. It's really in our mind. And if I have a client right now that tells me, yeah, but I'm not in shape, but I always have a picture of this dude in my mind, reminding me that like all the excuses that you have about why you can't, it's the biggest bullshit holding you back. So I tell you this, in my perspective, trading psychology is like doing self-development on a hyper-focused 10x mode to your life.
Yeah.
Because you cannot become a super performer if you don't treat this business and your body as an athlete.
Like the Olympics.
Like the Olympics, because trading is going every day to the Olympics. Like if I'm training for the Olympics, I know that I'm training for 4 years for 1 day.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna show, or a week that I'm gonna show my best. In trading is exactly the opposite. You go every day to the Olympics, and every day can be your last day if you fuck up.
Yeah.
If you don't have control. That's one of the only businesses in the world that you can have a 20 years amazing, like by the book performance, and in a 5 seconds stupid decision that you got hijacked from the amygdala, you can lose all of your career in a click of a button. It's a very crazy market to be in. And I'm telling you this, it's not just that I saw people doing it, I've done it myself. Like I got hijacked so bad, my 6th year of trading, I lost in a day 100K, which was all of my money back then.
Yeah.
And stupid move. I've done exactly the opposite of what I should have done.
Yeah.
And after looking at this, I knew what to do. Like the system showed me what to do, but I followed my guts. But my guts in this situation was not intuition. It was cortisol dopamine.
Yeah, it was.
That was the gut. And the problem for most traders that they try to go with their gut, but they cannot even tell the difference between gut instinct and dopamine cortisol. And that's a very big difference.
Mm-hmm.
The goal for me, for traders that come to me, is to get them to a point that they can use their intuition, the emotion in a way that you can actually use it, but you have to be regulated to do this. You have to understand when you're reactive because you have the emotional states unbalanced, and when you're reactive and your emotional state is shaking because something is about to happen and you have intuition. Now, intuition comes from the part of the brain that is more creative.
If you don't think it's the soul,
I don't know.
I think it comes from the soul in a way.
What is the soul? I tell you something. I look at all of my business in a very, very technical way. I need to understand like the part of the brain that it comes from. And I know that the intuition based on research is not, to come from the soul. There's no research about the soul. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe. It's one way to look at it, because basically when you have an idea that comes from intuition, it's an idea that came from nowhere and you brought it to reality. So you can have I'm a very spiritual man. I can understand what you're saying, but in order to connect it to, to ground it to scientific approach, it is very understandable that the creative part of our brain have no logic, not from the logical part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it's a black or white way of looking at the brain. The brain is a very complicated machine that integrates with each other. So, you cannot really say, oh, this part is yes, this part is. It's a bit more complicated than this. Mm-hmm. But when you're using intuition, your intuition is not coming from the emotional brain, and it's not coming from the logical brain. It's come from a deeper part of the brain, which is where your subconscious is as well. Yeah. So another thing that I fix for my clients is the subconscious beliefs that they have, because the amygdala can get hijacked from a belief that you have about yourself.
Yeah.
So for an example, if you have a belief that money that comes easy goes fast, if you don't work hard for your money, your money is worthless. It's going to go away. There's a lot of people that have this belief, and trading you can make $500,000 a day.
Yeah,
it's doable. Potentially, you can take $400, and in 6 years you can turn them to $500 million.
Yeah,
people have done it. There's a guy named Richard Dennis that done exactly that. He took a loan from his brother of $1,600. Back then, in order to open an account, it would cost you $1,200. Okay, so he got $400 left to trade with. He made $500 million. So it's doable. It is possible. People have done it. People made billions of dollars from trading. But you cannot do it if you have a belief. You cannot make a lot of money very fast.
The self-image, right?
It's self-image, it's beliefs about the world. And the thing is this, it doesn't matter how much you're going to train your logical part. If your subconscious have a belief that goes against it, the subconscious is going to win every single time, because that's how you get the reality from the subconscious. If you're not going to fix the roots of your problem, the story that you have about money and about success, about your image and about self-worth, it's impossible for you to succeed, because you will succeed. But at the second you will succeed, you will get the money back to the market. This is what I had. Like everything that I'm giving to my clients it's not coming from theories that I say, oh, that sounds so good. No, I have done it myself. And I came to this business because I saw that no one talks about this. And a funny thing is that, I got very deep into the subconscious. I understood, I made like a lot of courses on hypnosis, and I took a lot of private lessons on this to understand how to do it properly for myself, first of all. And it's a very, very deep, it's the subconscious, obviously it's going to be deep. But the thing is that I got a book of a guy named Mark Douglas. Mark Douglas is like the pioneer of trading psychology. And I bought like a special edition. I'm a freak of this guy. I love this dude. I bought a special, the first edition of his book, The Disciplined Trader, or Trading in the Zone, one of those books. And there was a chapter in the book that I never saw. And this chapter talked about the subconscious. Now, Mark Douglas died, I think, in 2005. And I never met him, obviously, but he influenced the way that I trade so much. And I talked to his wife. I asked her, like, what can you tell me about this missing chapter? And she told me that it was too deep for people and they thought that they're just going to work on the subconscious and things going to change. So they just deleted this from trading psychology, from the trading psychology field, because people never talked about this anymore. And it's not sexy. The thing is this, man. When I talk with my clients, when I talk with my people on Instagram, which I have like 120,000 people on Instagram.
Yeah.
If I give them real knowledge, like the heavy stuff, they're not going to like it. They're not going to share it. They're not going to save it because their brain is operating to get dopamine.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're in Instagram. Think about it. Everything you do for dopamine or against cortisol.
Yeah.
You go to Instagram. Think about the next time you're opening your app and going to Instagram. Ask yourself, why the fuck did I open the app? And you're going to see that the only answer you have is because your brain is addicted to dopamine. That's it.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to upload a video that talks about deep insights, like even simple stuff, but if I'm going to talk about the subconscious and how the subconscious is going to literally shape the way that you trade, it's not going to work as well as me saying Richard Dennis took $400 and turned it into $500 million in 6 years. It's possible. Why? Because that's not going to get the same. The first scenario, you're not going to get the same amount of dopamine to the viewer. Okay. In my email list, I go very deep. Like in the email list, if you don't like my email list, you can unsubscribe. I couldn't care less. I don't sell anything over there. I just give high value information. That's all. But this is the type of information I cannot share on a 30-second video that the whole goal of it is to bounce your dopamine up.
Right.
And so it's very aggressive. The thing is that you have to have every part of your psychology aligned to be successful in any field you play with. You have to know what you're doing. If you don't know your shit, nothing gonna help you. Okay. If you want to become a business owner, know your craft, know what you're doing, know what you're selling, know your enemy, your competitor, like know who you're dealing with, know everything, all of the logical part, get it solved. That's easy. Always the easiest part. Because if you're going to learn about a sport, okay, learn. The hard part is to practice. The practical part is going to be the hard part. Okay. The action, taking action. That's hard. Now, taking action just for the fact of taking action, it's useless. Because if you think you know and you're going to take action like blindly, you're going to lose miserably.
But also at the same time, it's not linking to any dopamine, right?
Explain.
So what I'm talking about is you can actually use dopamine to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And cortisol to your advantage.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point, right? So you can create goals and actions that are falling in line with things that give you dopamine. And this is the same thing for anyone that's struggling even to wake out of bed in the morning.
Absolutely.
Because the whole idea of dopamine, it's like, what am I going to get out of this as soon as I wake up?
Yeah, you can bribe yourself.
Right. It's cortisol that's there at the beginning where, okay, as soon as you wake up, oh, I'm so groggy, right? It's that feeling. It's like, I don't like this.
Actually, you need cortisol in the morning because cortisol is not the devil.
Yeah,
cortisol wakes you up. Without cortisol, you'll be sleeping all day. You need cortisol.
Right. I'm saying we need it, but at the same time, to trick yourself using dopamine of like, okay, what is something that I can use in the worlds and because dopamine is typically nothing. Would you say it's an internal thing or external thing?
It's just a thing. It's just a thing. It's a hormone. That's what it is. It's a neurotransmitter. But I'll tell you something. There's in the book Atomic Habits of James Clear.
Yeah.
There's the Seinfeld exercise, which is basically having an X list. You decide. Let's say you talked about waking up. You decide that I'm waking up, and every day I wake up, I put an X. Okay, the game is very simple. If I fail, I just start over, and you're gonna see that after 5 days, you're gonna have enough motivation just with an X, because the X is gonna give you dopamine.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're gonna have the cortisol of wiping your progress. And if you're gonna see, there's a lot of apps that are using the same principle, like Duolingo. I have a strike of 500 days.
The streaks.
Yeah, it's streaks of 500 days on Snapchat, on a lot of apps, on games. You can utilize it to communities. You can utilize it for your advantage as a human if you know how to do it. Most people will let others utilize it for themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to let you use the app. Okay, on my Instagram, I get always challenges from Instagram. Upload 5 stories in the next 5 days, and you're going to get an emoji. The fuck would I do with your emoji? But it's not about that. It works. Works because people want to feel that they've succeeded.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to look at computer games. It's always the same thing. It starts off very easy. If you're going to start a computer game at level 10, you're not going to enjoy the game. It's going to be too complex for you.
Mm-hmm.
In everything you do in life, you should do it like you should think like it's a computer game. So if I'm going to take it to trading, for example, don't try to be an intuitive trader. Well, you're not capable of using a systematic approach. Now, a systematic approach is extremely boring because it's a binary thing. If that happens, you do this. So you have to wait for something to happen on the screen. Then you click the button and you have nothing to do with it. It's not exciting. It's boring. And I want to play. I want to, that's what your brain is saying. I want dopamine, and this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
And also what's happening is that I'm very detached from the outcome. Why? Because it's not my trade, it's the system trade. So if the system lost money, it sucks, but it's not me. I haven't lost. It's not my self-esteem right now that got damaged. And it's boring. But I'm telling you this, if you do that, you take 25 trades and you just use a systematic approach for 25 trades and you're managing to do it for 25 trades in a row without making psychological mistakes, what's happening is that you are rewiring your brain to think in probabilities, to lower your emotional state and to detach yourself from the outcome of trading. Just this, if you're a trader and you're listening to all of what we said right now, the last 10 seconds can fix 90% of your psychological issues.
It's all about this system of creating such a win-lose ratio or a systematic approach to dopamine and cortisol. Understanding how you can implement a game in a way.
Gamify your life.
Yeah, you gamify your life because life is a game, right? You probably hear.
Life is a game. We all lose at the end.
Yeah, right.
It's the big loss, but
it's so helpful in so many ways. Just to create habits is understanding how dopamine and cortisol works, and to change your life.
1,000,000%.
You just understand how dopamine and cortisol work, and then you can start to implement certain scenarios and to create motivation out of just simple chemical in your brain.
I use it a lot, very aggressively with my life. A very good example that I can give is the 75 hard challenge that I've done.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I've decided to do it.
Again?
No.
No.
I will do it again. I want to do I want to go to level 1, which is like a hard life, like a full year of doing like challenges. It's extremely hard for people that don't understand. 75 hard is a challenge by Andy Frisella.
Yeah,
tough motherfucker. And it doesn't say 75 hard for nothing. It's basically rewiring your brain to be to shut the little bitch voice in your mind. In other words, but that's definitely what it does. And it's first off, you gotta have a diet, no sugar, no alcohol. Pick your diet.
You pick it.
You pick your diet. You gotta have 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes each. One of them have to be outside. It cannot be at the same time. You cannot be like, oh, I'm just gonna make an hour and a half. No, it's not gonna work.
Separated by 3 hours.
Exactly. And you gotta read 10 pages a day. Non-fiction book. Yeah, obviously you're not gonna read Harry Potter. It's not gonna work. A non-fiction book.
Drink 4 drinks.
Yeah, it's 3 gallons. 3 gallons? No, 1 gallon. 1 gallon. Yeah, it's 3 gallons. You die. 1 gallon of water a day, and take a progress picture.
Yes.
And that's first off, it's tough.
There's another level to it.
What's the another?
Showers.
No, but it's a different. It's not in the 75 hours. It's in another challenge that they have.
Yeah, I know. It's like another level to it.
Yeah, they have a lot of other crap to make your life more miserable. but the thing is this: is that the first 10 days was easy for me.
Yes,
because I'm in shape and I had shitload of motivation because I just started a new challenge. I love new challenges, and I've obviously, because I know myself, because I'm in my brain, I'm a quitter. That's a belief that I had about myself, and I need to change it all the time. So it's something that I carry. I don't act like this. I am not anymore. But this is something that I grew up with. I'm a quitter. So every time that I have a challenge that I know it's going to be fucking hard, I'm telling everyone about that.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm telling everyone about that, because I know that I'm going to be embarrassed to back off. I'm going to get cortisol from backing off.
Yeah.
At the 10th day of the 75 hard, I had a lower back problem. I couldn't fucking walk. And one part of my brain was like, well, you did 10 days, guy. That's very good. Well done. But you're not going to risk your health right now like I'm a 90 years old man that broke his hip. And, that's the voice.
Yeah.
And from the other side, I had, okay, sucks. It's going to be painful. Tough it up and just go.
Yeah.
Just fucking go.
Yeah.
And I couldn't walk, like I was limping. But I've done it for 3 days, and it I just got it over with. The thing is, I think on day 60, I was like, my legs were broken. I had bladders all over my leg.
Yeah.
Man, my body was like bruising from shit. It was like horrible. My shoulder I was in pain. Like every part of my body was in pain. And I'm like, yeah, but I already made 50 days. But the other voice said, okay, but you have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
14 days more. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's still a long time. The thing is this, when you finish this, the amount of dopamine that you have from being proud of yourself is something that you cannot explain in words. It's like, you know what? I can explain it in words. I hate running, man.
Oh, man.
I fucking hate running. I hate, but I love finish running.
Yeah.
Wow. When I finish a 10-kilometer run, I feel like a king. Why do I feel like a king? Because I get dopamine.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to translate it to how I see success in life, maybe first of all, I will ask you, how do you see success? Because success is something very
subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see success as just being able to do whatever you want and have the people around you that you want to have and be able to spend money however you want as well. And it's just being able to have the things that make you happy in every moment of your life.
It's a good definition. And again, everyone will see success very differently.
Yes.
But for me, it's important to have success as something that only I can control. Because if I'm not going to always be able to buy everything that I like or be with the people that I love or a lot of other stuff that other people are going to have as success, it's fine. I'm not. For me, success is something internal for myself, and it's the willingness to do whatever I said I'm going to do when I said I'm going to do it.
It's just discipline.
Yeah.
That's literally the definition of discipline.
Okay, so yeah. So discipline. Yeah.
Success is discipline.
That's success.
Doing the things you don't want to do.
maybe you do want to do them.
Sure.
Maybe you want to do
you
them.
want to do it.
But when you want to do something and you said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do 75 hard.
Yep.
I'm going to start it tomorrow and I'm not going to fucking quit.
Yeah.
And actually do it. Because if you're not, you're going to feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not saying that every time. I've done a lot of other challenges that I was not strong enough and I failed. Like the other challenge that I had that was like waking up at the 6 a.m. because my hours flipped when I got to Da Nang. And then I ate raw fish that was bad. And I was I had a fucking diarrhea for like 2 weeks. I was sick as a dog. And it flips everything. So, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I'm such a fucking loser. No. But I cannot say that there's not a part of me that say, motherfucker. Like,
of course.
Quit. So, and I love it. And I love it. It's okay. Listen, I'll tell you this. It's okay to be flexible.
Yeah.
This is going to take us to the beginning of our conversation. Accept what you have to accept. Change what you can change. And remove yourself from situations that you can remove yourself from and choose between those three.
Yeah.
So when you're fucking with fever, eat raw fish at a sushi restaurant and you cannot walk because every 2 minutes you got to go to the bathroom, you need to accept the situation. You cannot change it. I wish I could back then.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You need to accept it. So I was sick, but I was also very disappointed of myself. And the disappointment, that's the inner voice that we have. That's the ego that is trying to control us. And the ego, which is that's a very big topic. The ego. What is the ego? I look at the ego as just this inner voice that I have. Every time that I hear this inner voice, I know it's the ego. The talks that we have with ourselves, it's always the ego. Intuition have no voice. If you're gonna remember times or next time that you have an intuition about something, you can see that it's not verbal in your head.
It just comes.
Yeah. It's not verbal. The verbal that we have, and a lot of the times, and this is tricky because the ego is smart. Because your ego have access to all of your subconscious. He knows you better than you know yourself because you know the roots of everything. And he's playing with us. Okay? Because he can have two voices. And then you feel like you're talking to the ego. And just pick one side. Both of them are the ego. And the ego is not against you. He's in favor of survival.
Yeah.
What is survival?
Hierarchy of needs.
He suck. That's it. That's all what you need. Survival for the ego is don't do uncomfortable things. Don't go outside of your comfort zone. Don't go hit with this girl that you like and you're like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. No.
Interesting.
Don't do that because, oh my God. And it's all survival instincts.
Yeah.
Because when you go, there's a girl you like, you want to hit on her. It's not that you're afraid to get no. That your mind is afraid to die. Back in the early days, we used to be in tribes. And if I go to a girl that I don't know, because obviously I don't know this girl, she's from another tribe, maybe she's married, maybe I'm going to get married. For the brain, it's survival.
Yeah.
And this is how the brain sees things. Like when it comes to trading, losing money is a survival instinct. The brain doesn't understand the feeling that you have sometimes can be as fighting a lion. If there's a girl that you really think she's cute, so it's going to be really aggressive to go and approach her. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, it again depends on your level of how much can you control it. So, for an example, if you have anxiety of approaching girls, go do it 500 times. And let's talk in 500 times and tell me what's up with this anxiety.
Yeah.
Because probably after 500 times, anxiety is gone.
I'm putting you in the situation that's challenging.
Yeah.
It's just facing that, it's.
Now the thing is this: if you have anxiety issues about approaching girls, and I'm going to throw you into a club full of women that everyone is a model, you're going to crap your pants. But if you're going to do baby steps, you're going to succeed. You're going to get dopamine.
Yep.
Your brain going to understand. Basically, you made an action. Here is the reward.
Yeah.
And the reward can be, because a lot of time, especially with guys, there's a problem with approaching because we're afraid sometimes. Go approach a dude. I'm not saying hit on guys, and don't be gay if you're not, but go talk to a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically you teach your brain right now to talking to strangers is okay. So you get dopamine from that.
Yeah.
So you're training your brain. You are rewiring your brain to do something that you would like. You start at level 1, like a computer game. You don't start at level 10. You don't go to the club of fashion TV and, approach the most beautiful girl in the club. If you have anxiety issues, you don't go straight to that. But if you have anxiety issues, go talk to the fat mailman. Start a conversation. It's true. And after that, go with levels. Train your brain step by step. I do the same thing when it comes to trading with my guys, step by step. I see trading as 4 levels. And I look at it as like, I've placed it as like martial arts belts. You have the white belt, okay? You have the orange belt, the blue belt, and the black belt. Now, the white belt, it doesn't mean you're dumb or you don't know how to trade or you just started trading. There are people that have been trading for 15 years and they're still going to be a white belt. A white belt is about execution.
Yeah.
Because if you have all the knowledge in the world, literally all the knowledge, you have every strategy in the book, you know it by heart, smart money concept, ICT, support and resistance, you name it, any strategy you'd like to pick, you are a master at this strategy. But when it comes to making money from it, you can, because their execution gap is too wide. So you can execute your knowledge, you're a white belt. So you can have a black belt knowledge, but a white belt execution, you're a white belt. In order to move from this white belt, you got to go to the orange belt state, which is systematic trading. Pick a strategy and rewire your brain to think in probabilities. Like we said, 25 trades in a row, doing the same stupid, boring thing, and you don't care about the result. You don't care about it. And the thing is that you actually, when you do this exercise, you actually detach from the result because it's not you making the decision. You build a strategy, you found your answer. That's a system. If the system failed, not a failure.
Yeah.
It's just a system. And it feels very differently.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is that if you've done it long enough without any psychological mistakes, which means, for an example, if you lose money and you feel like crap because of it, that's a psychological mistake, even if you haven't done any trading mistake. But if you feel crap, you're too much, you're attached yourself too much to the trading. You have to do it over and over and over again till your brain is wired in a way you're detached. The next stage is more intuition. More discretionary. Discretionary means that you have room to think. You have room for maneuver. Right now, all of the knowledge that you have, you can make it work for you. Okay, it is still not intuitive. Okay, you cannot be like, okay, I'm just feeling it. I'm going to do it. No, it's got to be under a system. But it is not such a technical system of a binary. If that happened, I do this. It can be much more flexible. But you have right now, you build the rewiring of your brain in a way that you can control this discretionary level of trading. Does it make sense to you, or I'm talking gibberish? Okay. Then the next stage is the stage of the black belt, which is completely intuition. And into being an intuitive state, other people will call it being in the flow. You got to be connected to something higher than your capabilities right now.
Yeah.
What I'm doing with my clients and with my traders is something that I call super consciousness. Super cool thing. I've invented the name, but the method is basically a combination of a lot of very sophisticated methods that mostly athletes are using. Maybe the biggest example I can give is Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba.
The visualization.
It's a deeper thing than visualization.
Of course.
Okay? Visualization is super strong. People don't understand how much room there is for in visualization in your trading and in your life. There's a guy named Ed Sokotia. Is a billionaire trader, $4.2 billion. $4.2 billion. $4.2 billion net worth from trading. As I think in 2022, I have this data, maybe already have more than this. One of his most famous quotes, it's about the fact that the easiest way to align your subconscious with your conscious is visualization. And when it comes to trading, that's a game changer. That's his words, not mine. But this is just a part of the super consciousness protocol. Because for me, the super consciousness is actually getting to a level of someone that you're not believing enough in yourself that you can be. So, for example, a very good example is the Kobe Bryant and the Black Mamba. Kobe Bryant met his mental coach, a guy named Todd Herman. He got a wonderful book that talks about that, called The Alter Ego Effect. And basically, the alter ego of Kobe, the Black Mamba, came in a very black time in his life. He was accused of rape, and his career was going down. He felt like shit, and he needed to connect to a higher level being that's not him, because he had no energy for that. Mm-hmm. So Todd helped him and got him the alter ego of the Black Mamba, and he could connect something because it's not him. But it's not only for athletes. Okay, man, look at Beyonce. Beyonce came from a very religious Christian family. When she started singing, she had an alter ego named Sasha Pierce. Sasha Pierce, why? Because Beyonce was a singer in a church, and suddenly she's half naked on stage. She can't do that, but Sasha Pierce can. And there's so many people that have this alter ego. Super consciousness the alter ego is just one thing that I use on the super consciousness protocol. It's a little bit more complicated than this, but there's another guy called that's a crazy story. Okay, it sounds like science fiction. It's a Russian guy in the 60s named Vladimir Raikov. Okay, he was a hypnotherapist and a neuropsychologist, making experience on people. Okay, mostly hypnosis experiments. And he did an experiment where he took average musicians and he convinced them that they are when they were kids, they were Mozart or Bach or like super high musician level that they're not even close to their feet. But he convinced them that was their childhood, that this is who they are. And they went to perform after this session with him, like a 30-40 minute session with him, and they performed like they never were ever capable of doing. So they got into a level of creativity, of action, not just imagine. Like they literally did exactly that. And it's been proven. And in the stage, there was a guy that sat over there. And this guy was one of the inventors of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. He was there when Raikov did the experiment. And he took from there something that's called modeling. Modeling is pretty much the same thing as the alter ego effect of Todd Herman, is to model someone. Yeah. Now, Todd Herman took it from something that it doesn't have to be someone real, which modeling is someone real. Yeah. So the super conscious is like taking a lot of other fields and merge it into something that's completely directed trading. Mm.
I love this super ego and the modeling. I've done it myself. It's crazy. Some people call me like the new Tony Robbins, and then I've kind of modeled myself to be like that.
Yeah.
And so that's the vision that I come to see myself as at points. And I've created my own one as well, which is called the Goot Doctor. My middle name is Goot, which means good, right? And so I'm labeling myself as the Goot Doctor for when I'm in the work aspect. And then when there's challenging times or things that I want to do, things I don't want to do, or just execute, I call myself the Challenger.
It's amazing.
And this
is not you anymore.
No.
It's so good. And I'll tell you something. It's basically, if you're going to go to I'm not a psychologist. I'm not using any psychological methods, okay, like by the book psychological methods, because I don't believe it. I don't believe you need to go to the root cause of what your mom told you when you were 6, and let's challenge this. I'm not saying it's not working, but I want to get results, and I want to get results now. Yeah. And in order to do that, you can have the traditional way. Go to therapist, talk about your mom and how she caught you picking your nose and eating it, and you're a bad boy, whatever the fuck, man. Everyone in those stories. I was 5 years old, so, whatever. And what I'm saying is this: or you can go to the root problem and just put a new block on it.
Yeah.
And build this block to be so strong.
It's a reframe. It's what it is.
You
take something as it is and you look at it in a different shade, in a different light. CBT.
That's exactly CBT. It's nice that every time we're connecting to something different in this conversation, but because it's all connected.
It is.
You cannot have something complete if the other stuff are not complete.
Right.
And it's in life, and it's in business, and it's in relationships. At the end of the day, when you bring yourself to the table in any place you are, you have to be, you cannot be perfect. No one is perfect. I'm not expecting anyone to be perfect. What is perfect?
The high pressure to also think of yourself to be.
But your alter ego can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Your alter ego can be perfect.
You just got to reframe your mind into believing it at 100% capacity.
It's not believing it. It's be.
Right.
I don't believe it. I am being an alter ego.
But when you look at the word believe, the first letter there is
believe.
Is B.
Yeah, it's true. And what's happening in this is something very important, because you cannot be at your alter ego 100% of the time. It's impossible. You're gonna either lose it or lose yourself.
You also can fall. Yeah, exactly. The false image.
And what I'm doing, and I'm also teaching it to my traders. And this is a trick that I got from the movie Inception. In Inception, he got this sevivon. How do you call it in English?
A thumb, like a spinning.
The spinning thing. And it's a totem. Basically, it's a way for him to understand whether he's dreaming or he's awake, based on the totem. My totem is completely different, because my totem is something that only I know what it is. I know the weight of it. I know how it feels. And there's a lot of things that I do in order to activate this, because my mind needs to understand this. It has to be in a subconscious level.
Yeah.
That my mind understand, okay, right now the totem is on, and I've activated it in a hypnosis way. So when I hold it, I'm not me anymore.
Yeah.
My super consciousness is active. So again, I'm taking a lot of other fields to combine it to one, but I haven't invented anything.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm talking about with my clients, I haven't invented nothing. I took stuff that worked for me. And after it worked for me, I took it for other people, and I see it's working for other people because we all have the same brain. We all have the same operating system. The brain is a computer. The problem is, and if you're going to look at the ego, you're going to look at the inner voice, the problem is that most people are so connected to this voice, they cannot say the difference between intuition and the voice. And if you have a voice inside of your head, he's not saying, you are so fat. He's saying, I am fat in my head, in my fucking voice. So it's me.
Yeah.
But it is not. And the best way to bring your consciousness higher is just to be observing this voice. Because there is this voice, but there's always also someone is hearing this voice. Who is the someone that is hearing the voice? This is the upper level of your consciousness. And if you're going to be aware of that, you don't need to mute the voice. You are never, ever going to be able to mute the voice unless you're Buddha.
Yep.
And I'm not Buddha.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, man, in periods in my life that I made, there are periods in my life that I made so much money consistently by doing exactly what I need to do. The voice in my mind was still telling me the same things. You're lucky. You just got a lucky trade. So you made like 6 figures in 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're lucky. But if I've done it for 6 years, obviously I'm not lucky.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for 14 years, you're not lucky. If you're doing it for 20 years, it's not about luck. But your brain will still tell you, you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You're not good enough. You can lose it in a second. But what is this? What is this voice? It's my ego. It's not the real me, because the real me is not going to talk shit about myself or about anyone else. It's not going to talk. It's not going to have an opinion.
Yeah.
An opinion is from the ego.
Yeah.
It's always come from the ego. The ego, and if you're going to notice this, you're going to see that the ego is judging a lot of the time. Judging you, judging someone else, judging a situation. Always judging the past or the future or the present as what you wished it would be. So it's always trying to find something that is not good to happen. Basically not accepting the moment.
The moment. It's not liking the moments right now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's wishing to be somewhere else.
Somewhere else, with someone else, with a different situation. Yeah. And
it's about accepting a reality as it is. When we really think about it all, it's like, again, we keep coming back to this idea of attachment and detachment and listening to the voice. And all these things have to do with is understanding what is the moment right now, and what is actually the clearest form of what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, and not necessarily needing to take any action, not needing to make an impulsive trade, just being able to witness and understand whatever is the situation that's going on.
So I have a different, like, I first off, yes, 100% yes, because yes, you need to accept the moment as it is, because that's the only thing you have. If you really think about it, all of your past was always now.
Yeah,
your past was never in the past; it was always now. All of your future is always going to be now.
Yes,
and that is all we have. We only have the now. But I don't want to be a victim of the now, because I don't want to be saying, okay, yes, this is the situation, and I'm accepting it because I'm accepting.
No, that's why you have these three rules: you accept it, you change it, or you move away.
But the thing is this: the changing it is the hardest part, because removing it basically means it's not my responsibility.
Right. The responsibility.
Accepting it is saying it's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Both of them, it's like, it's not my. Now, a lot of times you have to use it. There's a lot of stuff that are not your responsibility. Like if you're dating a guy and he's beating you up, get the fuck out of there. Move.
Yeah.
Don't accept it. Move. And it's not your responsibility to change a man that is beating you up. Or if you're dating a girl that you don't like, move. But there's a lot of situations, most situations you have right now in your life, you got yourself into. Okay? And saying, okay, I need to change it is taking responsibility. Taking responsibility, if I'm going to take it to training for a second, when I talk about doing the exercise of doing the 25 trades, it's exactly the opposite of taking the responsibility. Yes, take responsibility by do the exercise. But once you've done the exercise, accept. Don't change anything. Just accept the situation. You lose, you win, doesn't matter. Just accept. But on discretionary trading, if you lose, you have the tendency, the brain have the tendency to connect to the trade. Why? Because right now you made the decision. It's not a system anymore. It's a plan, but it's your decision. But if you've done the exercise well enough, your brain already started to rewire the dopamine level to understand that it is not your responsibility. And the thing is this, what is trading? What really moves the market? People that are buying and selling. And I'll tell you this, a lot of people are, analyzing the markets, and they think that because they drew a line on the chart, it's going to predict what the market is going to do. And first of all, this is not true. And second of all, this is not your job. Now, you cannot predict what the market is going to do because the market is moving based on dopamine, cortisol, impulse of other people. You cannot predict your impulses. Definitely not billions of other people.
Yeah.
Opinions when it comes to making or losing money. It's impossible to do that. And our brain, as a problem-solving machine, will always look for patterns. And this is something very important.
But it's also going to take the path of least resistance. That's the path it will always go down, the pattern that it is most susceptible to, because it's easiest. It's
the dopamine.
It's the dopamine.
It's the dopamine.
Yeah.
Again.
Or the cortisol as well.
Because again, if the least resistance is to get the cortisol now,
right?
Get the cortisol. But no, it's not true. Because if the path of least resistance is to get the cortisol now, most people will delay the cortisol. This is why people get extremely fat, extremely unhealthy, because you get to a point you say, okay, it's too hard right now to work out, so I'm just going to give up on myself. Mm-hmm. Why is it happening? Because the cortisol, to face the cortisol, right, and say, I fucked up, I'm taking responsibility on my life, it's so painful that you're saying, okay, so there's a little bit more, and you find yourself in life situations that are very, very fucking problematic. And the way to break this cycle is to take responsibility as soon as possible on everything that you can. And the thing is, the step of saying I'm taking responsibility on my life, it is a very aggressive step to actually do.
Oh, wow.
But the first step should be so easy. That is so easy to do it as it's easy not to do it.
Yes.
So, for an example, if you're going to be like, okay, it's the new year, I'm going to have New Year resolution, I'm going to start myself to the gym, here's my new clothes for the gym, I'm going to try to fight Mike Tyson this year. I don't know. It fails. Why? Because if you never worked out, or if the last time you hit the gym was 10 years ago, leave the gym for a second. Decide that you do 2 or 3 walks a week. But do or die, you do that. Like, be so aggressive with that there is, maybe do the Seinfeld exercises. Yeah, do the exercise, do something. Put $500 with your friend and tell him, if you're not going to do it, if I'm not going to send you 3 selfies of me working out, cut these bills. Show me how you burn them. I bet you're going to work.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's not going to work, do 5,000. If that's not, do 50,000. Depends on your level of income.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, $500 in a real friends that really going to burn them.
Yeah.
You will walk. Find your cortisol as a motivator.
Yeah.
And find the dopamine as a motivator as well. And remember that the brain have a bias to be afraid of the cortisol much more than you want to get the cortisol, the dopamine.
Yeah.
So, for an example, if I'm going to tell you, if you're going to run 3 times this week and you're a fat guy that never run, and I'm going to give you $500, it's going to be very easy to say, fuck this $500.
Yeah.
But if that's going to be your $500 and I'm going to burn it if you're not going to run, it's going to be harder for you not to run.
Right.
So use this motivator as a strategic move in everything you do in life. It doesn't have to, I'm talking about trading, but at the end of the day, it is so related to every business, every relationship, every human being in almost anything you do.
It's just about really reflecting on this as well, because no one can really tell you the answers except yourself. The problem solving machine is there, but you can have people that ask questions, right? The brain is just answering a bunch of questions that it's coming into the mind for. And so when we have that opportunity to look at the situation of, do I need to run away from this, or am I going to move towards this? I kind of came to this conclusion myself. I called it the push-pull complex. And actually, there comes to a point in someone's life where there's a situation where you're in a better place than where you were before. You weren't running from anything. And now you kind of have to pull yourself into a better situation. And this is a tough place to be in, because that exact form of leaving and running away from the cortisol is easier to do. And that's why when there is a really tough situation, when you hit rock bottom, it's so much easier to initiate change. The pain has to be so hard for the change to be there. And then once you get to that place, all of a sudden, then you can move towards that good thing, but there has to be more. There has to be pain still there to kind of push you forward. That dopamine is.
If I'm going to get to the world of trading for a second, I can tell you this: I have 2 types of clients. One is about 10% of my clients. Those are people that are already successful, they're already making money, and they want to push themselves to the next level. I love those type of people. It's easy to work with them. And they came with they're coming with such a high base that it's a pleasure to work with them. The other type of clients that I like better working with, because you can see the change happening very, very fast. Those are people that got smacked from trading in the face so fucking hard. They got to a situation that they say, it's either I quit or I do whatever it takes to conquer this shit.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. That's what happened to 99% of traders I know that are successful. They got smacked in the face so bad that the pain was so big.
Yep.
That for me, it was the day that I told you before, the day that I lost 100K.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, guy?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And I made a decision. Find the root cause, which is not your fucking strategy. You have the strategies. You're not following them. Solve it or stop trading. Accept the situation. Yeah. It's either that or that. And I was very aggressive with my decision, but I was aggressive with this.
Yeah.
There is no 99%.
But
All
because
in.
the cortisol was there, you were trying to. The pain was so.
The pain was so. Yeah. You know, I had a client of mine, Gary. Great guy. I love this guy. Bemet. Like, really, he's such a good guy. And he got to a point that he said, okay, enough is enough. It's either I do it or I don't. And he had a conversation with me first call, and he was like, listen, I'll be honest with you. It's like, it's expensive to work with you right now. I'm not sure if it's going to work for me or not. And I told him, like, very simply, try it for a month. If after 30 days of using my method, but actually doing it, you know, don't fuck around, just do the work. If you don't feel like a completely different person, completely, like 180 degrees, completely different, focused, aggressive, ambitious, ready to fucking bite the trading world in the ass, like, really, don't work with me anymore.
Yeah.
But it will not happen. After 2 weeks, we had a conversation. He was a different person.
Mm.
And for me, that's what I like the most, because I see a human being that is,
They're determined.
bro, man, it's not about determined.
No, but
They didn't have this. We all did. We all want the change, but no one have the real. I'll tell you something. When you work with a coach, you're a coach yourself.
Yeah.
Why should someone work with you? Everyone have the knowledge. I don't bring any new knowledge to the world. I say it in a nice way, in a different way, whatever. Knowledge is cheap.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to change anything. But the fact that you have someone accountable for you, and if you, especially if you pay enough money for it, and the other side is aggressive, which means he's not willing to give up on you when shit goes down.
Yeah.
And he's shaking your soul so you can get to your best level. Ronaldo have a coach. Every CEO have a mentor or a coach. Every trader have a coach. Paul Theodore Jones, a guy that made $100 million in a day, had a coach. George Soros had a coach. You cannot make it alone. That's the thing. You cannot make it alone. We need help. I need help. You need help. We need help. We're human beings. We're monkeys. Monkeys live in tribes.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal to think you're going to succeed by yourself. I'm not saying it's impossible. Everything is possible.
Yeah.
But why take the hard road?
Yeah.
Like, why the hard road?
Hard road, hard path.
Yeah, why walk the hard road? Just, oh, fuck. What I'm saying is just you can have the hard life of doing everything by yourself and finding the way and finding the solution. That was me. And I did, like, I'm saying it, but it's also not true. I've done so many courses. I went to so many coaches. It's nice. So many coaches. I couldn't find the path that I was looking for. So I need to build it for myself.
Right.
But it was not my invention. I haven't invented anything. I took a lot of systems and I combined it to something that works for me.
It's something that it works for you. And then when you have that for other people holding you accountable, boom, then you level up. You really do, because you have someone that also, your problems are their problems. Your pains are their pains. Your dreams are their dreams. It's like 100%. Like, you have almost like an alter ego that is a completely different person.
Accountability for other people. Like, I'm telling straight up, if you have the opportunity to have someone coaching you in anything in life you do, you're just gonna have better results faster. You don't have to. You can take the harder path, and you can work harder, and you can make yourself more miserable. But you can also make it easy. If you go to something that works, it will work. Maybe not on 100% of the people. Nothing going to work 100% for everyone.
Yeah.
But the way that I work, the way that I approach my coaching method is not about my opinion. I told you before in this conversation that for me, you talk about the soul. I'm very connected to my soul. Yeah. But when I talk about coaching, I'm very grounded. If I don't have a scientific evidence to what I do, and I cannot explain it by science, I'm not going to do it with my clients.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And the reason that I know my stuff works is because there's scientific proof for everything that I do.
Yeah.
So I'll just give you an example. The exercise of the 25 threats, that's not my invention. That's Mark Douglas. Mark Douglas, again, the pioneer of trading psychology.
Yeah.
But he just said, do it. And I was like, but why? Okay, I'll do it, but why? Now, when you talk to people that are so analytic, like traders, and you don't give them the why, it's going to be very hard for them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I found the why. I was searching for the why. And the why is because when you do a repetitive task with a unpredictable outcome, your brain is rewiring itself to think in probabilities. There's a lot of evidence for this. There's researchers for this, not specifically for this 25 trades exercise, but for the theory behind that. So he was a genius to invent it. It's a wonderful, wonderful exercise, but the why was missing for me. And with Mark, for example, I love him. Like, honestly, he was a really smart guy. He have a lot of gifts that he gave to the world of trading psychology, but 99% of it is theory. And what people need is the action. And the action is missing in all of the world of trading psychology. The action is missing. It's performance. And it's performance sports, if you ask myself. It's sports. You got to bring your A game every day. If you're not in your A game, stay home. Don't trade. The main difference between being an athlete and being a trader is that if you're an athlete and you have a game and you need to play, well, fuck you. Put your happy face and just bring everything you can.
Yeah.
I can't say, I'm not going to trade this week. Why? Because I don't feel like it. I can do it. And the thing is this, if I really don't feel like it, I'm going to save myself a shitload of money for not trading. I'm going to make money from not trading.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to trade with a mood, I'm done. I'm gone. So one of the best and the most important things that you have to do is to be aware of your mental state.
Yeah.
Which this is why I think that trading is the fastest way for internal growth. Because you have to be conscious all the time.
Very aware of your emotions.
Don't be perfect.
Huge.
It's huge. But the thing is, you don't have to act on your emotion. You just got to be aware of them. And if you know that your emotions are too high, don't put yourself in a situation that you know you're not going to be in control.
You were reframing emotions into what word? What was it again?
I don't remember.
Something around some scientific thing. It was like...
Man, I look at emotion as a positive, negative thing. That's it. It's a positive or negative, and it's dopamine, cortisol. That's what it is.
I think that's what it was. If you just understand emotions as dopamine and cortisol,
it is. Yeah. But it is that's
just a chemical thing.
It's a chemical. That's what is emotion, if not a chemical thing that we have in our brain.
Because when we also look at just labeling emotion as it's just an emotion. There's so many emotions when you look at it. You can look at the wheel of emotions, and there's some that you can't even explain. But it's just being able to label. CBT is the most.
I love CBT,
and so. But
by the way, I do CBT. There's a specific exercise for CBT that I do with my clients. It's about thought distortions and basically reframing the thoughts that we have.
I love reframes.
Wow, that's so strong. Yeah. It's so strong that I tell you this. I gave it to my clients because it changed my life.
Yeah, it does.
It changed my life completely in a way that I was.
Man, the story is so victimizing if you really let it be. And this is, I mean, being aware of your story, right? Well, a lot of the conversations that I have with people, it's really about awareness. When you look at it, it's when you look at such depth of anything that you really want to do or try to do, or just, it's just understanding what it is that you're feeling and thinking.
You know, it's a funny story about the CBT. I got to CBT like this, man. It was I had an 8 years relationship. My girlfriend broke up with me. I was fucking devastated. But beside that, I was at the peak of my life. I had the biggest amount of money I ever had. I was living my dream house. Everything was fucking amazing. But I had a lot of financial anxiety.
Yeah.
And I was in the peak of my financial life. Literally, I put myself a number that I said, if I'm going to reach this number, I'm going to be fucking satisfied. I'm going to be happy. It's a big number. I got there. I was miserable. Now, I leave the fact with my girlfriend that just also affected it. But actually, it happened before my girlfriend broke up with me. I understand why she broke up with me. I was depressed. I was like very low level in my life, and but that was a breaking point because I said, okay, you got what you wished for. You're not happy. That's not what you need. Something is wrong, and I look for things that can fix me. And after I done all of the bad stuff, I got into therapy and I found a really nice girl that do CBT and specialize in finance and in trading. And she was a lifesaver. We didn't talk about trading at all. It's not about trading. It's about regulation. Man, label your thoughts. Understand what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're feeling.
Yeah. It's huge meditative practice. That's why there's body scans, those types of things. Being able to just be aware. And one perspective that I looked at was just there's this. Have you ever heard of the thinker? There's a statue of this guy. It's just
of course,
this guy.
I don't know the story behind it.
I don't know the story behind it either, but there's this idea behind it, right? And so instead of being the thinker of like always thinking into things, be a different version of that, which is the watcher. Just the watcher. You don't need to do anything, but just be aware, just watch, not put any reaction to anything, any decisions. Obviously there's decisions that always come into worlds. There's choices that we have to make every single day. If that's when you're going to wake up, what are you going to drink, what are you going to put on your clothes, put on your body. There's decisions that go on every single day. And sometimes there's an emotional tie to it. Sometimes there isn't. But as long as you can just be aware and just watch whatever you're thinking, it's sometimes so hard to be in the moment and just not react to those things. But this is it. When you come to it, there's so much about trading. There's so much about psychology and life in general to being able to be in the best version of yourself. Man, once you have the awareness part of it, it's like then you can work on the other parts, and then of course you can get to the
if you don't have the awareness, if you don't have the awareness, it's like trying to play a video game at 10 level, which the first time you open the game, so you're doomed to fail.
Right.
You go against the big boss when you have like the first stick instead of the RPG. You're not gonna win. And it's funny that you said about the thinker and about the watcher, because it's exactly what we talked about when we said like watch your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because you cannot mute them.
Yeah.
And this is a challenge that I had for many, many years, that I tried to mute the voice, try to disconnect from it. You cannot. You can't silence. The only way to disconnect is to say bye-bye to your body.
And people think in this meditation, when people meditate, is like you can silence that.
I wish.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
You cannot silence that voice. It's always going to be there. And yes, it's going to have absurd thoughts and crazy thoughts, some stupid, maybe even sexual or a super aggressive. It doesn't even matter. That's the whole thing. It could you once you label it and dive into that with a positive or negative tie to it, then your emotions start reacting. Then you start getting tied into it, and it's just swing of going on this emotional roller coaster. This is also part of it.
Just a note about
create that the alter ego of the watcher.
The alter ego is like it again, for me, as far as I understood the alter ego and how I took it to the world of super consciousness, you gotta have a very strong base to actually build a super consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're building it on a low base, it's not going to be helpful. Yeah. Like not really. So if you look at Kobe Bryant, the motherfucker is a god. Like he's
you said it was a bad point in his life.
Yes,
right?
but he had the coach. But he had the coach, he had the discipline, he had the strong base, and he was willing to do whatever it takes.
Right. Going to the Olympics.
When it comes to CBT, what I love about CBT is that you take a negative thought. So for an example, I'm not good enough. So all of us have sometimes.
It's so deep.
And when you think about I'm not good enough, and you think about the thought distortion that comes from it, you are good enough in some things. Maybe in this you're not good, but what is good enough? And you start playing with the thought.
Yeah.
And then the job of CBT, the actual work of it is to reframe the thought.
Yeah.
And reframing the thought, sometimes it sounds like first time I heard it was like, so I'm going to think a different thought and it's going to change. The thing is this, it's not about thinking a different thought. It's about looking at reality. If changing the thought is not a reality, the fact, if that's not the fact, it's not going to work. So for an example, if you're going to say, well, I'm not good enough when it comes to I don't know,
Electricity.
Yeah. Okay. So you can say, well, there's a lot more to learn about this, and I'm willing to learn.
Right.
Or there's a lot more to learn, and I don't care about this. So I don't care if I'm not at the level that I wish that I could be. But if I wish that I could be, so what does it mean? And go deeper in these thoughts and find the root of it.
Yeah.
The root can be, I don't care about electricity. How we got to the electricity example, but I don't care about it. Or
it's just a subject, right? It's just
a subject, and then you can say, okay, I don't know enough about this, and I'm willing to learn more. And then this is like, so it's a very neutral thing to say. There's a lot of the negative distortion thoughts in CBTs are amazing. You have the all or nothing, which is the tendency to see life as black or white.
Yeah.
So for an example, I fucked up at something, so your brain's going to be like, oh, I'm always fucking up these kind of things. But it's not true. Because when you're overgeneralizing, which is another thought distortion, and this is something very human to do.
Yeah.
We're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
And when you catch yourself, the thing is that you need, for me, what works really well on CBT was not to catch the thoughts, because I have endless thoughts all the time.
Yeah.
But to catch the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I felt bad.
It's when you look at the cycle of action, it goes the thought, the feeling, and then the action.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thoughts are the things that you can't always control.
Right? You never can control it.
The first thought is the thing that you can't control.
It's random.
You can create that second thought as soon as you
that's true.
But then the thought, the feeling that comes after it, that's where you can take action on, because that's the second part right after it. And so once you take action based on a certain feeling or sensation, that's where you're going to be able to lead towards. You can take action on any type of feeling,
mm-hmm.
but it has to be an action, not a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key.
Yes,
man.
And the action can be just, let's look at the thought for a second, understand where it's coming from.
Right.
It's so hard. And I'll tell you this: it takes practice. But once you get to a point, like I had, by the way, and up until today, I don't like writing. Yeah, but I'm a recorder type of guy. So I got my own group with me on WhatsApp, and I'm recording stuff to myself. I usually never open them, but I get the thoughts out and I talk to myself. I do it's like a self-therapy that I do in a very CBT way. The base of CBT, if you're going to look at this, it's very stoic.
Yeah,
it's very, very stoic, which basically we're going back to the watcher of the thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And the stoic is a watcher.
Yeah, the stoic is the watcher of the thoughts and not the thoughts themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's a very, very big thing for me to try to say the whole stoicism on one leg. But if someone would ask me, I would. That's how I see it anyway.
It's the premise of saying you are not your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Man.
I feel like we could talk.
We could talk for another 5 hours.
Yeah, there's so much about these types of things that we are talking about. I mean, we have included a lot of different conceptions and ideals that the listeners can be able to really understand and grasp. You know, you've got your 3 little ways of being able to conceptualize things. It's either you accept it, you change it, or you just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're kind of like, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm moving away. I'm doing something else. And then the other part of it, that's a huge, big idea, is just awareness. You are not your thoughts. Being able to come back to this idea of just, I'm the watcher. I'm being able to just see things as it is, no reaction, understand that first thought, understand the feeling, and where is that feeling going to lead you to?
Mm-hmm.
Man. Is there anything else you would like to say? Just to
the summary of everything that I've said you started very well. I will add that the amygdala connection to the cortex is a very important thing that all of us humans need to experience and to regulate, and the understanding of the dopamine and the cortisol as not your enemy.
Yeah.
But it's just something that you have.
Yeah.
And if you can control it, you can control your behavior. And if you can control your behavior, you can reach anything you actually believe you can make. And if you don't believe that you can make something, but you really want to do it, build your super consciousness, and you can actually achieve things that are unbelievable for you.
When you say the words behavior, when you say the words believe, the first word in that is being.
Yes,
you gotta be something to do something, and without being, what are you, a human?
Fuck no, I'm a super consciousness. We're all humans, man. It was a pleasure. Again, I love you. I know that I'm going to live Vietnam. You're going to leave Vietnam on Monday to the state.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave Vietnam for Korea, and then I go to Thailand. And I really wish I'm going to see you again, because you got into my heart very deep. I love you a lot.
Same.
But you know, life, the world is very small. And
Wow.
you got my WhatsApp, so
Yeah, exactly, bro.
my man,
That was awesome.
pleasure. It was really nice, man.